Ahoy there! Come with me on a journey to make my cats into Animal Crossing characters. On the left we have Brown Cat, Amy, Flub Cat, or Pizza Cat. So named because she jumped onto the bench when we were having pizza and stole some straight from the box. She also likes baked beans. On the right we have Black Cat, Artemis, or Poo Cat. So named because she often smells like poo, or has stuff crusted into parts of her fur. This cat also likes to meow for no particular reason. So let's get into it. Before I started, I made sure to get a reference of a cat villager to go off for the proportions, but otherwise, I was just on a roll. I did make sure that Flab Cat was a bit chubbier than Black Cat by the end, but only because there's no model variations between the villagers, so I kept it quite subtle. I wanted to make these in a very simple style, so much so that I ended up using vector layers for the line art, because I find it so much easier to get long, smooth curves this way, especially on such simple designs. Some of you may be wondering where these cats would fit into your typical island. The answer is very simple. They wouldn't. Brown Cat is undeniably a grumpy or lazy villager, and Black Cat is definitely a jock. But if you were listening earlier, you would have noticed I referred to them both as she. These two are sisters from the same farm cat litter. They're real animals, and as such, they do not fit the 4 personality groups Nintendo has assigned to female animals. But even disregarding that, these two would absolutely be glitched characters. Think of the old glitched Pokemon from Gen 1. Missing No and all that. That's them. Moving away from that though, my initial plan was to give them little wizard hats. But these cats are dumb. So dumb. Particularly Black Cat. Making Artemis an inbred version was a much better idea. More realistic. Let's include some of their favourite things too. A spine to represent all the cute fluffy creatures Black Cat has hunted. And the dog food bowl, because sometimes she refuses to eat the perfectly good cat food that's there. For Brown Cat, we can have what we call a wob, because she is so often wobbing. I can't take it away from her because she just looks like this now. And the cat food bag. Bag specifically because she does not check if there is still food in the bowls or not. Brown Cat will simply make it someone else's problem to check if she has food when she is hungry. Brown Cat is too feisty to put bread on, but we often put our chocolate wrappers on her head when she's on the lounge with us, so I'll do that for her. It's equally, stupidly fitting. And then we're done here. So why did I do this? Well, way back in 2022, I actually got a table at the biggest anime convention in the country. I was hyped. I loved Animal Crossing, and because we hadn't had any conventions for the past 2 years, I figured people would still be looking for Animal Crossing merch. So I made these. Well, designed and had them made over at Alibaba. Not that they arrived in time to have at my table because of my horrendous planning, but that's a different story. But I also designed these ones at the same time. My dad and sister were both into Animal Crossing too, especially at the beginning of COVID. And I wanted to make things for their favourite characters. Dad's is honorary for his favourite villager in the save file that he lost. And my sister's is just Stu. Nothing special about this one. But I never had these made into physical charms. There was no way I was going to sell 11 other curly charms. But only recently I found out you could make these inflated charms from home. So now I have to make them? And it would be slightly unfair to make stuff for only half of my family members, so the new cat charms are here for my mum, Brown Cat, and my brother, Black Cat. So let's finish making these charms, shall we? I have everything I need, I just need to get it done. Step 1. Printable shrink plastic. This step is fairly straightforward. Once I had a printing file set up, it was a simple matter of setting up my very expensive and very fancy printer and hitting go. Then I had to double check I was putting the plastic in the right way for printing on the back side. I also had to quickly do a test print on the second side because the print preview looked like this for some reason, and I didn't want to waste any of my plastic. All this being said, the second side was slightly out of alignment due to the great quality and large price point on my printer. I expected nothing less. If I was going to cut these on my machine, I would probably add bleed, so that there would be no white edges despite the lopsided cut. But this is an experiment for family, so I'll make it work anyway. Step 2, cutting, which I did not film because I wanted to watch YouTube while doing it. So here's a quick overview of the, oh no, I never did that. Well, moving on. Step 3 is shrinking. Grabbing the heat gun, I started slow and immediately realized my mistake. Any color on the shrink plastic becomes super dark when heated as the pigment becomes more concentrated. I continued shrinking everything and the little charms turned out well enough, but I didn't like the character turnout. So I decided to reprint Flub, Cat, Stu, and Curly with a much lower opacity. This is only 60% compared to the first batch of 100. I also added a bunch of old art and characters of mine to fill out the rest of the page. Don't worry about those. Then it was cutting, which I still did off camera, and the second shrink, where the colours looked much more correct this time. And approximately 5 minutes after that step, I moved on to step 4, resining, which involved way too many safety precautions, but hey, safety before anime. So I strapped on my mask and gloves, then rushed inside to find a lighter to remove the bubbles and returned with matches because we didn't have any. This was a long, hot and sweaty process as it was over 30 degrees outside as I was doing this and near 100% humidity, and I had other projects to resin while I was at it too. And I just wanted to get it all done when I had it all set up. My resining dog did not help as much as he thought he did. But eventually I reached a point where I had to go inside to get sandpaper for these chi-chi charms, and those didn't have a time limit, but I did, and I was cooked. Then I played Minecraft for the rest of the day because I was tired and didn't want to work anymore. Step 5 was experimenting. I had seen other people do this online with a tiny hair straightener and it looks great, but slightly boring since it's uncoloured. However, this is the hair straightener I have access to. And I have never done this before and I want it to be colourful. So step 1 of step 5 was to test what I can use to colour the plastic. I tested 2 levels of Posca marker and 2 different permanent markers. I figured anything else I try would rub off quickly or limit the stickiness of the heated plastic. And I'm very glad that I did test this because while they look better, the thick coat of Posca markers did not stick at all, and the thinner coat was very easy to pull apart. However, both the permanent markers worked a treat. So that was one issue solved. Then I wanted to see how precisely I could do this. And with some quick maths, I cut this horribly undersized piece of plastic, then checked my measurements and realized I was an idiot. Always remember to measure twice and cut once, kids. On my second, much better sized attempt at precision, I colored in one end of it, once again making a mistake, but learning that 2 coats of permanent marker also significantly reduces the stickiness of the sheet. I could get it to stick if I squished it down with a ruler, but I will be trying to avoid this in the future. I wasn't completely happy with these prototypes, but I decided to move on as the only thing I could think of improving was inflating them before sealing, and I can't test that once they're closed. So I made a template to print for consistency, and it was time to move on to step 2 of step 5, actually finishing the charms. Thankfully, the practice rounds I did while experimenting meant I knew what I needed to do, so the creation of these charms went reasonably smoothly, although there were a couple of things I noticed. First is that the permanent marker I used to colour ended up looking streaky and kind of messy in the finished project. While I like that the colour is there, I'm not sure I would have preferred it to plain plastic when you can clearly see the lines I drew to block it in. The second was the lack of squish. The ones I got manufactured and others I have seen online look a lot more inflated. I did see on Furgrease's channel that they inject theirs with air, which is why you will see me mucking around with a syringe trying to get more air to stay in the charm. But it didn't work. I still think they're okay, I just wish they were bigger. Said literally everyone. The other thing I noticed is that the melting wasn't clean. The seams are full of bubbles. I'm not really sure how you would fix this problem though. More even pressure when heating, I suppose, but I was doing the best I could with what I had. There is also a strong smell of melting plastics as I'm doing this. Don't worry, I made sure my window was open and that I had a fan going. Safety before anime. For the fillings, I eyeballed the shaped glitter that I had, but counted out exactly 10 of each flower for every charm, so no one can complain about getting less flowers than anyone else. Oh, and yes, in case you hadn't worked it out yet, these are all Christmas presents for my immediate family members. Anyway, then it was a matter of sealing them for a second time, mucking around with the syringe, and waiting for them to cool down. I did have some eyelets from a previous project I was planning to use for these, but I did not film that part because the last time I tried to eyelet something on my kotatsu, I left dents in it. Not again. Finally, I found some ball chains and key strings. Not sure what these ones are called. I had these lying around from when I was repairing some of my gachapons. And then I completely finished the charms, once and for all. Look at them. Very cute, and also ugly because of my handiwork at the same time. Ah well, next time I try and make something like this, it will go better. See ya next time!